In this video, I'm going to cover a few more syntax rules involving whitespace and indentation. So in Python, whitespace is mostly ignored. So whitespace is just simply, pressing the spacebar in between parts of your code. So let me show you that. So let's say we have some operation here, 5 plus 3. Notice I put a whitespace in there and another whitespace in here. So when I execute this, that is correct Python code. I can delete the white space and do 5 plus 3 right next to one another. So Python doesn't care if there's white space there. I can have any amount of white space. So let's say a whole lot of white space after the 5, and then after the 3 some as well. So Python will just simply ignore that. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have any special rules for white space between these pieces of code. Now one place where white space does matter, and we already covered that, is with, say, some operator like greater than or equal to. So let's do it correctly. So 5 is greater than or equal to 3. Well, that is true. So, but if I put a space in here, this will no longer evaluate. So what Python wants is, okay, this is one single, it's actually called a token. A token is just the smallest component of a code, like a variable name, a delimiter, an operator, a function, a variable name, whatever. So it has to read this in as greater than or equal to. If it sees it like this, it'll read it in, okay, this is greater than, and this is an assignment statement. So a greater than cannot appear next to assignment statement. That's why you get this invalid syntax. So you can't have white space everywhere, particularly inside of a, in an operator that has 2 characters, just like the word and. So this is actually valid Python syntax, the keyword and. I can't do an space D and Python will just ignore this D. No, this is going to be an error. Now you need to have and all together like that. So again, that's another area where white space does matter. And let's see here. Oh, another place where white space matters is at the beginning of a line. All right, so this is what I'm going to talk about, indentation. So white space does matter at the beginning. So let's say I do 5 plus 3, and then on the next line I do 10 plus 8 like this. So you cannot format your code like this. Every line in Python has to begin at the same place that the line above it began. So in this case, the line above it begins at the very beginning. And so that means the second line has to begin right below it, which is the first place in this, the first space on this line over here. So if I execute this, I'm going to get something called an indentation error. So I've improperly indented my code like this. So white space does matter at the very beginning over here. And the only way to properly execute this is by placing it right here. Now white space in the middle of a line does not matter. So this is perfectly valid as well. I just can't have any spaces over here at the beginning. The exception is when we enter a code block, and code blocks will be talked about in a later chapter. We don't have to worry about that. And they have a different rule for indentation of the first line. All right, so that's a little bit on white space and indentation.